And my now business partner was actually one of my coaching clients because I mentored business owners for a couple of decades and then eventually turned that into a coaching practice. But at the time, she had encouraged me to start using video. That was 2007 when we started using video marketing. And so what I found, which I wasn't expecting, was just the absolute power of video marketing. So we would have clients who would come into the office and they knew me. So Shay, I don't know if you've ever been out and about and someone walks up to you and they start talking to you and it's clear that they know you, but you're racing around your head. You're like embarrassed. You're thinking, how do I know this person, right? And that was what would happen. They would come into the office and they were so well connected to who I was or who the team was that it was a little weird because we didn't know them in return. So that was when I realized that know, like, and trust, how incredibly powerful it is.
Welcome to another episode of Creating Powerful Impact. I'm your host, Shay Wheat, founder of Grace and Ease Productions, where we support entrepreneurs just like you with event-based marketing and sales strategies, allowing you to build your authority, your credibility, and your visibility in your industry. And today's guest is the amazing Kirsten Graham of Six Figure Business Coaching. She is somebody that just absolutely loves helping business owners create an evergreen, value-based video content that really showcases you as a speaker, coach, and expert, your authority. So you can build that know, like, and trust, which is so important in business. And knowing that time is our most valuable asset, her team pairs you up with like really trained marketing VAs who take care of like all the video and the audio editing, because let's just face it, that's a pain in the booty, the social media and the email marketing, thus freeing you up to focus on doing what you do best, which is making more money. Now, she is a lifelong learner, loves the beach, boating, and has a 5-pound fur baby who runs her life. Please help me welcome her to the Creating Powerful Impact stage. How are you?
Hey, thank you so much. What a lovely introduction. And I always love when my tummy comes up, right?
Love it. Well, and before we kind of started pressing play here, we were talking about the fur babies that tend to run our life. What kind of fur baby do you have?
She's a Morkie. She's a cross between a Maltese and a Yorkie. So she's a little under 5 pounds. And yeah, she definitely runs the house.
I agree with you. My office mates right now are a Siberian Husky, a cat, and then a Belgian Malinois is downstairs hanging out with Dad. So, you know, you gotta work the dogs, right? Or they work you.
That's true. That's true. And it's so awesome to work from home and to be able to be with our pets. But some days I'm like, I'm going to go to a coffee shop because I just don't want the cat or the dog on top of me. I've got to have a minute
rolling across the desk. Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel you. Well, let's dive in. I'm curious because at least in my world, one of the biggest questions that I get when people are wanting to host an event is how in the world do I fill the room? Which essentially in overall business sense is lead gen. How do you see lead gen, and what is the best way that you guys are supporting people with their lead generation and bringing in new clients?
Sure. So I'm going to rewind just a little bit to give you a little bit of backstory because it may make more sense.
Mm-hmm.
But my background is mortgage, real estate. I started in real estate in the late 80s. I ended up owning a mortgage company and a title company. And my now business partner was actually one of my coaching clients because I mentored business owners for a couple of decades and then eventually turned that into a coaching practice. But at the time, she had encouraged me to start using video. That was 2007 when we started using video marketing. And so what I found, which I wasn't expecting, was just the absolute power of video marketing. So we would have clients who would come into the office and they knew me. So Shay, I don't know if you've ever been out and about and someone walks up to you and they start talking to you and it's clear that they know you, but you're racing around your head. You're like, you're embarrassed. You're thinking, how do I know this person, right? And that was what would happen. They would come into the office and they were so well connected to who I was or who the team was that it was a little weird because we didn't know them in return. So that was when I realized that know, like, and trust, how incredibly powerful it is. And so, of course, 2008 hit. We stayed in business. I like to joke to say that we we weren't thriving, but we were definitely surviving. And I think that had a lot to do with being early adapters of video content. So I think that people, when you think about marketing and you think about lead generation, ideally you need to do that ahead of time, right? It's not like you decide to host an event and then all of a sudden you start lead generation. It's really important to start building your brand and your lead generation ongoing from the very beginning. I know I was talking to someone just yesterday who builds websites, and it's so funny how many people think that the minute that website goes live, that they're going to have all these people, coming to them,
in,
or
knocking on their door, right? Pay me, let me pay you.
And the developer's like, no, now you have to market your website, right? So I think it's just really important to think about how can we as business owners leverage our time to the best of our ability. And the thing that I love about video is you can spend 30 to 45 minutes a week, outlining, scripting your video, recording your video. And then once your virtual assistant edits it and repurposes it and does all the things they do, now you have this incredible asset that's working 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for you for years. So I don't know if you've ever gone to Google, and when you search, they actually pull up a video from YouTube rather than just articles. And the reason for that is we're at a day and age where people would rather watch video than necessarily read something. And of course, Google owns YouTube and they make their money off of ads. So Google wants to send us to wherever we're going to spend the most time so that they can make the most money having ads on that content. So as a business owner, creating content, we always focus on starting with YouTube because, again, Evergreen, search engine optimization, all of the great things that happen with YouTube makes sense. And I think it's Gary Vaynerchuk who said, people will often find you from your short form content, but they'll buy from you from your long form content. So short form content allows them to find us quickly. But what happens is if someone finds some of your short form content, maybe it's a clip from one of your other videos, and it's speaking to them when they have a need, they're going to go and watch that longer form video. And then they may watch several videos, because we find that when people call us or they reach out to our clients, they've generally watched a lot of our videos. They'll often quote things that we've said. Sometimes they've opted into 1, 2, or 3 of our lead magnets. So they are really ready to buy when they get on that call with us. And I think that is incredibly powerful. So if you can start to build a following before you have, book your event, then you have people that you can really start to reach out to.
Yeah, that's very powerful. I like the frame of it. And where does somebody start, right? They're like, either I have all of these ideas or I have so many ideas, I don't know which one to start with. And do I do a long video? Do I do it from a podcast? What do I do?
Right. So I think whether you do talking head videos or podcast style videos. So if you're creating a podcast, ideally you want to put it on YouTube because that makes sense. Then strip the audio, clean up the audio, and then put it out on Spotify and Apple and all those places. Because again, people realize now that they can just listen to videos. Like you don't have to necessarily watch it. You can listen while you're cooking or cleaning or whatever else you're doing. So I think it is powerful. Plus you're still leveraging the advantage of SEO. And that was one of the reasons why we didn't start our podcast until YouTube leaned into podcast, because podcasting in and of itself is not really searchable. Like you can't put in a problem in Google and have a podcast interview pop up unless it's on YouTube. So for us, the strategy really revolves around where are we going to get the most bang for our buck? Where are we going to create content that people will actually find it when they're searching for something? And then we can repurpose that for everything else.
And you're putting all of that in the description then, the SEO type things?
Yes. When we work with our clients, most of our clients, they will know their keywords. If they have a website, obviously they know what their keywords are. If they've done their market research, they know the words that their ideal clients are using. So then the goal is to create video content using those words. And then those will be the words, the tags, the title, and the description. And that's something initially our clients do, and they work with the virtual assistant, and then the virtual assistant can do it. All of our virtual assistants are trained on how to do it. But initially, when they first go to work for a client, they don't know that client. They don't know that client's keywords. They don't know that client's content. So initially, they work side by side with the client to to learn their particular keywords and their SEO strategy.
Mhm. Do you suggest that they do some like time blocking and just knock out a ton of long form and then split it to a whole bunch of short forms? Is it more of a, do it twice a week? What kind of format do you suggest for your clients?
Yeah, we usually just recommend having one video for YouTube each week. And when we say long form, people always ask me, well, how long should my video be? And it really should be long enough to deliver on the promise of the title. So if my title is something like, is it ethical to outsource overseas? I need to make sure that the information that I provide, talks about, is it ethical, the pros, the cons, and I kind of deliver on the promise of the title of the video. But when we talk about long form content, it could be 3 minutes, 10 minutes, 12 minutes, 20 minutes. Usually, once you're getting past 30 or 40 minutes, especially if it's the talking head video, we might want to start breaking it into 2 different videos. And I think that is a challenge people have, is either we have so much information and we want to put it all in one video, or sometimes people feel like, well, I've already talked about these topics, I don't have anything else to talk about. And so both of those things are things that we coach our clients on, like how do you make sure you have enough content week after week for a great video? And then how do you know when to stop a video in the sense that you're very detailed on your outline so that you're not going to go down rabbit holes and go into too many different concepts, because then those different concepts could really be standalone videos.
Yeah. How would you suggest somebody that's like, okay, this is my topic, and I want to do some videos on it. Where do I start? How do I start? Do I start with the title? Do I start with the concept? Do I do it based off of my offering and breaking that down? Like, where are they pulling the ideas? Are they going into AI and ChatGPT
Sure.
to get some ideas?
Sure. So again, a lot of clients have already started writing blog posts. So if they've written blog posts, and they generally have their process down, which is figure out what your title is going to be and the keywords in the title, then figure out what the points you want to make throughout that video. And then we usually outline it. Some people fully script their video, so it really just depends on their style. Same thing with recording videos. Some clients would rather just record one video a week. Some clients batch and record all of their videos for the month on a Friday or a Tuesday or whatever. So that really depends on the person's personality and what works best for them. But I really just think it's a matter of understanding what your title is going to be, is obviously the first thing, because that's really where your primary keywords are going to come in. And then from there, what secondary keywords do you want to use throughout your content, so that those are the words you'll put in the description and in the tags. And then most importantly, how are you going to deliver incredible information for that customer? Because again, it doesn't work if they find your video and search, but then your content doesn't really deliver on the title, or you're not really delivering something like a start to finish thought process, I guess.
Yeah. So all of the like influencers and people out there, they use all these like different hooks and kind of gimmicky things and dancing and, people stealing stuff off of a porch in order to like get your attention. Do you have to do that?
Hope not. I have to say, like, we do have clients who are way more outgoing and maybe do want to do some dancing and are much more bring, levity and humor to their videos. And then we have clients who are probably more like Jeannie and I, who are more like, we love to educate. We love to help people. We love just delivering incredible content. So we're more focused on that opposed to necessarily entertaining. So I always feel like the client who finds us in our content, they're going to know exactly what it's like to work with us, because neither of us are super silly. Neither of us are going to dance around. So when you get to our content, you're going to learn, how do we educate people? How do we deliver our content? How do we focus on outcomes for our clients? Because all of that is within our free, is within our free content, but it also really represents how we teach and what we do as coaches.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Let me switch gears a little bit. You've got your video. Fantastic. You pass it off to somebody. And what kind of direction do you need to give them? I mean, do you say, hey, I want you to, out of this 20-minute podcast that I created, of me talking head type of thing, I want you to create what, 5 smaller things out of it? Or is it really just dependent upon what you're teaching and talking about? Maybe there's 3 key points, and so you can only pull 3 things out. How do you support your team in pulling out the best stuff so then you can use it and repurpose it?
Right. So some of our clients, if they're creating talking head videos, will often talk about creating your style of content around tips or points or secrets, right? So that each of those are very easy to pull out. But what happens, and it's really going to depend on how long your content is as to how many small clips or quotes they can pull out of it of things that you've said. So it's not one size fits all for each video. It would really depend. But what happens is, all of our virtual assistants have been through a paid internship before they go to work for a client. And our goal is to have them pull as many pieces out that make sense. And then what happens is we work with them because, again, and you can use AI to pull clips out of your video. Sometimes it does a great job, and sometimes it's not a start to finish thought and it doesn't make sense. So we want to make sure that any clips or quotes that they're pulling really does create a great piece of standalone content. So when the person hits click on that short video, they get a quick concept that they understand start to finish, because hopefully that entices them to go watch the full video.
That makes sense. Okay. And why in the world did you guys start outsourcing in the first place?
So Jeannie, my now business partner, actually, I was her coach back when she first started her marketing agency, and she got really busy rather quickly. And I said, I've read about outsourcing overseas. Would you want to try that? And this was 16 years ago. So this was before Zoom and Skype and all the other things. So she was a very, very brave soul. And she said, okay. So we kind of went down this rabbit hole of learning how to outsource. And we've hired in 6 different countries. We've now hired hundreds of virtual assistants for ourselves and for our clients. And, we like to say if it could be done wrong, we did it wrong so many times. But we kept learning and figuring out what it took to really lead and manage a team halfway around the world. So that was really our journey into outsourcing. And she was able to build her agency with a remote team. And then as a business coach, the biggest thing that I saw, which you talked about earlier, is lead generation. Most business owners, the biggest challenge they have is lead generation. And in most cases, there's so many different social media platforms you can be on. There's so much going on, but it's all time consuming. So we tried to figure out what was a way that virtual assistants could actually support our clients in their marketing and in their lead generation, because I feel like that's the most important thing.
Yeah, I agree. What are some of the challenges that you guys ran into?
Oh my
Tell us the
gosh.
behind the scenes parts here of
Yeah.
like the not so great. And for those listening, like
Yeah.
what to look out for when they are bringing
Sure.
somebody.
Sure. Yeah. So we had this one guy, he'd worked for us for a couple of months and he was doing a fairly good job. And then he had a family emergency and asked if we could pay him in advance for a couple of weeks. So we were like,
Oh,
okay, right. Yeah.
mhm.
We were crazy. Not smart. He disappeared on us.
Uh-huh.
So, that happened. But now, fast forward to now, like if any of our team members right now said that they had a struggle and they needed an advance on something, I would still give it to them. I know that sounds kind of a little bit crazy, but we have, obviously he hadn't been with us long enough. A lot of our team members now have been with us for years. They wouldn't ask if they didn't really need it. But
Mhm.
again, it's a two-way street. And this is one of the things that I think is so important is that, we hear clients or we'll hear people say all the time, I hired someone and it was more work than it was worth. If I have to spend all of this time teaching them what to do, it's just not worth it. And we made those same mistakes in the beginning too. So first of all, before you ever hire, make sure you have a really, really detailed job description of all the tasks you want that person to do. Then you need to know what hard skills and soft skills they need to do that job. Then you need to have an onboarding process. How are you going to bring them into your company and make them feel like part of your team? And then the next most important part is, do you have detailed SOPs, standard operating procedures? We lead people, we manage tasks. And it's a lot easier to manage tasks if you have workflows set up and it's very systematic. So since we help our clients with video production and podcast production and social media and email marketing, we were able to take all of the SOPs that Jeannie had in her marketing agency and really tweak them a little bit. So we're able to give those to our clients. And then we actually train the virtual assistants while they're in our paid internship how to use those. So we actually manage all of their tasks in the paid internship through those SOPs. So when they go to work for a client, they know how to use that structure. And now our client knows how to manage that virtual assistant through that structure. Because the goal is to really get to the point where your virtual assistant can edit your video to the point where you're like, that looks fabulous, or hey, just make this one change. That does not happen overnight. It takes time, but we do have a process, a very detailed process for how our clients coach the virtual assistant on what they like and dislike in their content to make sure that very quickly they get that virtual assistant up to speed with what the vision of the company is, who that video is talking to, what type of images and B-roll makes sense to be in that video. Because the end goal is to really have your client, our client, have the opportunity to have a virtual assistant who can do the job so well that it takes very little of their time to approve their content.
I love that. And I love that it's like they come in both sides now knowing the system that has to be used. So then you're talking the same language, which is fantastic. So with social media, it changes all the time. There's so many different trends and so many things happening and popping up. Do you end up like supporting your VAs with ongoing trainings or the latest trends and things that are happening? Or is it because it's just a trend? It's not necessarily something that you want to put a whole lot of effort into.
Yeah. So what happens is we're really focusing on having those hard skills of being able to video edit, graphic design, create the content. And then our clients are all on different platforms. Some are on TikTok, some aren't, some have a really huge Instagram following, some don't. So generally, let's say someone who had a large Instagram following, they already have an Instagram strategy that they're using. So at that point, we're talking about how does their video marketing strategy complement what they're currently doing? But if they have built that audience by jumping on trends, they're probably going to still do that. And then they can have the opportunity to teach the virtual assistant what they're doing to stay on trend with that. And then ask that virtual assistant to create the type of content that will help them stay on trend. So we don't keep up with trends because, like you said, they're changing. And then all of our clients, like I said, are on different platforms, depending, are they B2B or they B2C? But if they're already using a platform really, really well, they generally have a strategy. And then our job is to help them integrate, the repurposed content into that strategy so that it makes sense rather than taking away from what they're currently doing.
Makes sense. Yeah. Awesome. Okay. Well, this is absolutely just flown by. What is right? I know. What is the best way for somebody to stay connected with you? And do you happen to have a gift for our audience today?
Sure. You can always find us on YouTube or our website at Six Figure Business Coaching. So Six Figure Business on Coaching on YouTube. And we actually do have a gift. It's a video method. It's a strategy around creating great video content. I want to say it's about a 45-minute training. And so we're going to give you a strategy that you can use to create great video that is going to appeal to your ideal client and help you convert them into leads and sales. So I know you have the link for that, so we can put it in the show notes because I cannot think of the URL off the top of my head.
Absolutely. So make sure you click on the link in the show notes to grab that video and that training. Last question for you. What is a takeaway or a memorable note you'd like to leave our audience with today?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that I would say is, obviously we all have to market our businesses. But I think the thing I would like for everyone to understand is that we deserve to have support in our businesses. So especially as women, we tend to try to do it all. We try to be all things to all people. But what happens is when you start to get support in your business, it shifts who you are. I was very surprised when we first started hearing clients say things like, I feel like a real business owner now. Or I had a vision for my business, but now that I understand what it's like to have structure in my business and have support in my business, I know I can do something 10 times bigger. So you deserve to have support in your business, and it's very affordable outsourcing overseas. And if we can do it, you can do it.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can stop them from making the mistakes that you've already made, right? So
absolutely, yes.
Well, thank you so much for being with us today. And I want to thank our audience for joining us on another episode of Creating Powerful Impact. I'm excited for you to take all of these lessons and these resources that you've learned here, start implementing them, and create even more impact in your world. Until next time, have an outstanding rest of your day. Take care. Thank you so much for listening to the Creating Powerful Impact podcast. If you are a successful coach, speaker, author, or thought leader who would like to be on this program, simply visit creatingpowerfulimpact.com/guest. If you are someone who got something out of this interview, would you please do me a favor and share this episode on social media? Just do a quick screenshot with your phone and text it to a friend or post it on your socials. Also, if you know somebody that would be a great guest, tag them on social media to let them know about the show and include the hashtag Creating Powerful Impact. I love seeing all of your posts and great guest selections. We are regularly putting out new episodes and content. To make sure you don't miss any episodes, go ahead and subscribe. Your thumbs up, ratings, and reviews go a long way to help promote the show, and they really mean a lot to me and my team. Want to know more about us? Head on over to our website, graceandeaseproductions.com, or follow me on LinkedIn, Facebook, or Instagram. Just look for Grace and Ease Productions on your favorite platform. Thanks for listening. We'll see you next time.